Okay, and we are live. Let me just set up a few things and checking the stream. Okay, stream seems good. Audio seems good. Hey, welcome. Good morning, Gopi.
Good morning, Daniel. Thank you very much for inviting me over. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Where are you at, actually?
I'm at home, and yeah, that's where we have been operating for the last 1 month, all from home, work from home, and it's working out quite well actually. And yourself?
Yeah, so we just moved into this new apartment over in SS2. So turn it into a makeshift studio. And yeah, I see you have a wonderful background over there. I
Oh,
look, yeah, like
yeah.
compared to plain white
No,
wall.
lah, because I have a family, I've got kids. But you know what? Most of our homes, including mine and yours, is now a co-working space.
Yeah. So how
So
things have changed actually, like within so this is what, day 25 now? Is
no,
it?
29, I think. I'm
Oh,
counting.
29. Okay. I lost track because like it's been daily crazy for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so welcome on the show. While we wait for people. Hi. This is Daniel. I'm together here with Gopi. Gopi is the VP of MDEC, and so Gopi, I know you have a whole extensive experience with corporate and also with as an entrepreneur, and you've been in companies like Microsoft, Salesforce. Let's go a bit highlight in terms of your career and how you got into MDEC before we jump into the question. Is it okay?
Hey, sure, sure. First of all, I want to thank you, Daniel, and Next Up Asia, because you guys are doing a fantastic job in marketplace in the industry, and I'm following all your live chats, and this is exactly what the startup industry needs. People like you who are coming in to say, okay, bring the platform, bring all these things together. So thank you very much. So going to my background, Daniel. So I have a finance degree, and I work for companies like Matsushita, American Express, Lucent, Telstra in Australia, and I did a regional stint for 15 years in Asia Pacific. Before coming back to Malaysia to be an entrepreneur, I started a company or founded a company called Lava Protocol in 2007, and we brought in Salesforce.com into Malaysia and became a reseller for them. And that was the birth of cloud technologies. There was a lonely market. We were alone. Nobody understood us, but as entrepreneurs, we needed to market. We needed to push the boundaries. Surely, but very slowly, market turned in 2011. 2012, Google approached us and we became Google's go-to-market for Maps, Google Maps, and we became quite a large partner for Google for go-to-market in ASEAN. 2014, restructured the company, and so my partner took over as the lead principal partner, and I got called up by MDEC to do national service and to identify companies that are potentially global players within the tech industry in Malaysia. And yeah, so I went in there to do 2 years of national service. I am serving my sixth year now. So that's a little bit of my background.
Yeah, I know you've been in MDEC for a while, and I also we know a lot of the good things you've done in MDEC. But
Thank you.
let's
It's all team effort, definitely.
yeah, and thanks for actually coming on the show, and thanks for all the kind words you actually mentioned earlier. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. I think the community also really appreciate you coming in. This is Nim from the Co actually say hi. Is stay looking forward for the session. So I'd like to thank Psychit, Sijin, Chiam, Dave. There's a whole bunch of people
Hi,
watching us.
guys.
Yeah, hi. So
Wow. All
feel
the
free.
powerful people.
Yeah. Rizal Awani say still looking good during MCO. I think that's referring to you. So
No, no. No, no, no.
I haven't been shaving since the whole thing. I'm gonna see how long we can
Oh, I just
go.
took mine off on Sunday. I shaved for the first time after 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's actually a new normal, and it's such a new normal for so many things that is happening around. And so, but business still needs to function, and business still need to go on. And a lot of startups are actually facing this issue called like product market failure. It's opposed to product market fit in terms of they would not be able to like get customers, like work with partners, or even like get users. So want to check like in terms of like startups that are mostly relying on funding. Like MDEC has been actually very busy over this whole MCO, especially championing a lot of funding initiatives. Like, can you actually share some of it that's happening over at MDEC?
Sure. So MTech does a lot of things. So we do entrepreneurship, we do education, we do ecosystems, we do investments, tech, FDIs, right? So, but funding has been part of the entrepreneurship journey because without money you cannot grow. And so we've been doing a lot of initiatives around funding. Funding with we work with SC, we work with Bursa for listing, we work with the VCs, we work with the capital markets. So a lot of stuff that we have done all these years, and including our travels into market access. We've talked to VCs there, but things have changed. This COVID-19 crisis and everything that we have done was offline. Mostly was offline. So what has MDEC done? We've taken some of the initiatives to be online. So to ensure that the startups are still able to talk to investors. So MDEC has run launched two initiatives. One is what we call match. What we call the sorry, I'm losing the connection.
No worries. Just proceed.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. So we are losing. So we have launched one is match. They make Malaysian startups to match into funding. So we call that. We have actually partnered with KK Fund, and what we're doing is KK Fund has actually partnered with over 60 to 70 other VCs in the region. And what we've done is we brought the VCs together. We've created MDEC has created a platform, and via the platform, we've got 100 over startups that have applied to meet VCs. And MDEC's now currently busy facilitating and talking to these startups to understand what is their business model, to understand how are they going to market, to understand which VC may fit them best, and that's keeping the funding team quite busy. The second initiative that we also brought up is the P2P, peer-to-peer lending initiatives that enables individuals to obtain loans directly from other individuals. So that cuts up the financial institution as the middleman. So that's speed for VCs. So websites that facilitate P2P lending have greatly increased its adoption during this period, and you can see the traction that P2P is taking on. The other thing that we have also launched with the P2P is the ECF, equity crowdfunding, in terms of raising capital. This is the ECF has been very successful in Malaysia. I think Malaysia is one of the first markets in this region in ASEAN to have launched the ECF. And there are 10 ECF players, and we have 11 P2P players. And what we have done is we've partnered with 4 ECF players and 3 P2P to launch this initiative, which means that the startups are now being able to meet ECF players online, or meet P2P players online, or meet VCs online. And that's what MDEC's done right now for the startups. So just to summarize, we have done the Meet Your Match Malaysia, which is the equity investment via VC. We have done the ECF and P2P initiative online. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, so please go ahead.
The third one that we are looking at, and I hope we can roll this out next week, is a similar initiative, which is online, but we want to talk with debt. So where SMEs can get a loan instead of giving up the equity. Because why would you want to give up your equity to think that your future of the business is looking good? You may want to take a loan that's reasonably, that has a reasonable interest rate. So we are hoping that my team and I are working really hard to be able to launch that next week, and we're waiting for certain approvals to be in place.
That is actually very good. I want to jump into the next thing because a lot of startups are actually trying to survive, and basically they are giving up more equity than they have. Like, should the startup be raising funds at this point in time?
Yeah, absolutely. I think raising fund is a continuous effort. I think startups should raise fund. But what has changed is the COVID-19 situation, the MCO. Many things have changed during this period. One is startups have a short runway, right? They probably, if you have a 2-month runway, you're doing well. I don't think many startups have the 2-month runway, except for the ones that have just recently launched or raised their investment round. So startups have always got to be raising investments. They've always got to be pivoting to make sure that the business model stays relevant. But what has changed actually is the COVID-19 situation, where we have gone on to a lockdown. And unlike the free to move, startups are now looking at how they need to pivot their business model. So, assuming so now you can't meet your team, you can't meet your market, you can't meet people in the market. So how do you pivot? And so that is very, very challenging. And a lot of startups by May would be dying for cash. They'll have a cash crunch. And so I would urge all startups to relook at their model, their business model, look at their market again, because the market has changed. People are now very, very aware of online platforms. Even the elderly, the more mature citizens have gone onto online platforms to procure groceries, to procure shopping. So e-commerce is doing really, and part of e-commerce is marketplaces, it's logistics. These are companies that are doing very well. And we've got e-commerce, we've got e-commerce enablers like the fintech companies, the online players, companies that convert a physical store into an online store. Wow, they are doing so well. So these companies are really looking at their business model, re-evaluating what investments they're seeking, and some of them are actually asking for higher valuation. Now, that will not happen to all segments, but this segment is looking at higher valuation. Some segments will have a lower valuation, right? So I would urge companies to continue seeking funding, to continue seeking investment, but relook at your model very, very closely.
I want to. This is a question by name from the call. Actually, would you advise startup to go back to the cap table to raise fund from existing investor, or is it a good time to engage with new investors?
I would suggest both. Because the current ones may want to relook. Like I said, if you are in the market that's getting a tailwind from all this, which I can clearly say e-commerce is. If you're in that market or that ecosystem of e-commerce, I would say go back to current and rework. It's never too late, and it's never. It's never wrong to be speaking to many investors. Never. So, and investors look at your business model. Investors look at your hunger rate. And go back to do a hybrid. It's my advice to Nicole.
I think it was also Cheryl recently over a previous call with Cheryl Yo, formerly from Magic. She mentioned that in terms of there are already funds allocated by investors, so they have to actually invest this money out. It's just really in terms of advice on how do you engage these investors, or how do you talk to your existing investors. Gopi, what advice would you?
Sorry, I just want to. That's a very good point you brought up, and that's exactly why we MDEC got in the online platform so quickly. Was when investors are holding on to money, and especially during this time, interest rates are not going to give you that kind of money. So you need to be placing your bets quickly. So in every crisis like this, there are opportunities, and that is why the funding team at MDEC quickly managed to put all this online very, very quickly. And one of the reasons why so many investors jumped onto the bandwagon with us was for that reason. They needed to invest that money.
Yeah, and that's something a lot of entrepreneurs do not know, because a lot of entrepreneurs do think that the investors will hold on to the money, but they already have allocation. They will have to invest, and they need to. And again, whenever we look at every crisis, there is a lot of opportunities to that. So it's their role to actually place back on that. So what advice would you give startups that are raising funds? Like, how would they actually approach in this new situation?
I think this situation, so I'm an entrepreneur myself, right? So we did a couple of startups, made our mistakes, and some of it turned out well. So I think in this situation, one of the greatest things, and this is why Silicon Valley takes so well, is mentorship. This is the time when I think startups need to speak to good mentors. And mentors are the ones who are your sifu, who are your gurus. And they've gone through this sort of crisis many times in their life. They've We've had the 1997 crisis, we've had the 2008-2009 crisis, and out came certain new products, and out came innovation. So these mentors have gone through it. MDEC does have a mentorship program under Global Growth, where I'm heading it, and we have some very successful local mentors who are now CFOs in ASEAN, CFOs in Asia, and I would encourage and urge these startups to talk to mentors, because mentors will be able to be critical and tell you where you're going wrong. Mentors will be able to tell you how market dynamics change. Mentors will be able to tell you how do you do a pitch at this time, because the investors it's a biased market, right? The investors are spoiled for choice. So how do you make the right pitch? And so, yeah, my advice to answer your question is look for a good mentor.
I will also jump into a next question by one of our users. This is Dave Chu. Why do you think Malaysian startups are less attractive compared to Singapore and Indonesia market? Will you want to comment on this?
I can. I wouldn't say they're less attractive. Indonesian market is more attractive maybe because the market size is bigger. Singapore attracts money, but I would like to say that Malaysia has got fantastic entrepreneurship. If you really look at the kind of entrepreneurs that we are breeding and we are grooming, it's amazing. And we can tap the money that's sitting in Indonesia, in Singapore. We can tap the market in Indonesia. We can go into partnership models, and that's exactly what MDEC is doing with some of the startups and our programs prior to this COVID-19. Was to tap the money, was to tap the market, and entrepreneurship is definitely talent is thriving in this country, and what we need to do better is to retain the talent, is to retain the entrepreneurs, and that's one of the key primary focus that my division is doing, global growth, is to address that issue. So I wouldn't say that. I would say that look, we're sitting quite pretty in Malaysia. In fact, we have a lot of companies that are around this region that are looking at Malaysia and to re-domicile their operations here in Malaysia, purely because of one is our strategic location into ASEAN, two is the government support that we get here in this country, three is the operating costs compared to the talent that we have is far less than operating costs in some of our neighboring countries. So we are very attractive to attract. We are looking very attractive to attract these startups to Malaysia. Two, and the other one that MDEC offers is the Malaysian Tech Entrepreneur Pass. What does this pass do? It tells this pass is enabling an entrepreneur to set up or come and look at Malaysia to set up your startup here. And we have attracted over almost 200 entrepreneurs to come to Malaysia to set up shop here. And as MDEC, we are supporting these entrepreneurs because we want them to be successful. We want them to partner our local entrepreneurs. We want them to co-found with our local entrepreneurs. We want to create innovation. We want to create talent. We want to create jobs. So that's part of what we're trying to do as well for the startup industry and putting Malaysia as the startup heaven, if I may call it.
I want to jump on top of Dave's comment also in terms of because during the whole MCO, and there's something that you touched on, that we are all at home, we are all stuck at home, and in terms of looking at a global market is nothing. We can actually do business from Malaysia to a global market, so there's definitely a lot of advantages over there already.
Hey Daniel, I lost you for what, 10 seconds? Can you say that again?
No, so I was gonna say that there's a lot of people who are actually everyone is working from home, so there's definitely a lot of advantages from people working from home, and you can actually build your startup from home to target a global market. So there's nothing wrong about being unattractive. You have to be in Indonesia or Singapore, and I've been seeing partnerships being formed just virtually and getting things done over virtually.
Yeah, so this is a great testament and how we are actually doing everything. And this is entrepreneurship, how we bounce back, how we look, everyone, all of us, we go through difficulties, right? But entrepreneurs somehow, there's a great saying, and I like to repeat it. An entrepreneur is the one who jumps off the cliff, and by the time he reaches down, he's already built a sail, right? And he's got a parachute right there. So that is entrepreneurship. You will be thrown challenges after challenges after challenges, but how do you pivot? How do you come out of it? And in looking at the situation, entrepreneurs are doing a great job. We are getting the moment MCOs imposed. That was on Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, my office was so busy because the industry, I think at least 40 people immediately said, hey, here's a solution for MOH, here's a solution for this, here's a solution for that. This is how we can help SMEs. This is what kind of platforms we have. This is what we can do. Look at what happened in Cameron Highlands. They were going to throw away the vegetables, and then pop, one platform came and we fixed the problem. And now what will the farmers be thinking? Hey, this is a better platform than my traditional lorries coming and picking it up, and the middleman that's probably making a big margin. Now the farmers have got a bigger margin, and the consumers have to pay lower. So these are powerful platforms, and this is how entrepreneurship thrives. So I will answer the question to say no. Entrepreneurs never have a problem. They will face problems, but they will come out of it. Trust me, this whole COVID-19 situation, you would see new businesses coming up, you would see new ways of doing things, you will see consumer behavior changing, you would see markets opening up, and you would see a lot of it going from offline to online.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with it. There's a question by Riza Awani. So Riza asks, can we get a large corporation to do M&A into new startup, essentially by acquiring new startup?
I would encourage it, but of course we don't own this M&A, so own this corporation. So it's a willing buyer, willing seller. I would encourage it, and I think this will happen because large corporations have now realized to be quick, to be nimble, you need to be not so big, you need to be small, and you need to be having digital skills. You need to have people within the organization who are digitally savvy. So I think it's going to be a natural progression. But of course, MDEC cannot promise you that an M&A will happen. This is going to the market dynamics will make that happen. But yes, to answer the question, Rizal, go and talk to certain people, certain corporations whom you think you can add value.
Yeah, that's actually good advice. So thank you very much for everyone who's watching. Michael, Rizal, David Anthony. We have a bunch of people from Thailand actually. Again. So we will jump into something that you mentioned earlier in terms of the P2P platform, and also you mentioned also ECF. Like how would the P2P investor benefit from investing in startup in this time?
It's a good question. P2P has, I would say, so P2P is actually, I would say, it's very resilient to economic changes. Because all stocks, all shares, right, will fluctuate in value. There's certain risks to take, particularly now, stock markets will crash. So it all depends on the size, the age of the location of the firm you're investing in. But this means that neither the share price nor the dividend is guaranteed, right? But as a result of this market unpredictability, it also means that speculating on the right time to purchase shares can be tricky. When very costly, you'll see this happening now. You're already seeing it in all the stock markets. But in comparison, this is time when P2P platforms come in because the returns are typically stable. So the companies that are able to attract the P2P monies are very stable. Even if it's a startup that's going on an upward trend, which means you're likely to get a more stable set of rate of return on your investment. So I will bet on P2P platforms. I think a lot of P2P platforms will do much better now.
Yeah, it's actually
given the situation of COVID-19 and companies that are what they're going through, especially P2P platforms that have been in the tech space for the last 5 years or so.
Yeah, what will be your advice for investors who are actually looking at P2P platform or ECF investing in startup?
I would say, take advantage of the technology that's driving this whole COVID-19, and everything going to a platform. And both this ECF and P2P are already sitting on platforms that are regulated by government. So it's not a hit and run sort of platform. It's very regulated. You've seen ECF has had a lot of successes in how they have funded some of these companies. You have seen P2P that have moved very well, and they've cut down the time to market. When I say time to market, is by the time I put in an application in a financial institution, and by the time I put in an application in a P2P, the time it takes to process my application and the time it takes to disperse the money to me, it's very different. And if I'm running a startup, time is of money. I need the money now. So I would naturally go towards platform at this stage. I wouldn't know how non-tech companies will think, but I think tech companies will think that way.
And in terms of a lot of tech companies, they generally go faster. So we are they are moving at the breakneck speed, and we have seen a lot of companies pivot from. StoreHub is a great example, from basically doing a POS system. Within 72 hours, they have a delivery platform. So yeah, so definitely a good bet to actually look at this. Dave asked again, how do our corporate companies' perspective into corporate venture capital? There are companies like Sunway via Sunstein doing it, but still very few.
My answer again, it's this whole thing about COVID-19 is going to give tailwind to all this. Companies like corporate ventures, companies that are big corporate, companies that have big GLCs, in fact, are all beginning to open their eyes and saying, wow, we better get digital. So I think all this is going to change post-COVID. People are already changing. We are working with, since you mentioned Sunway, already working with Sunway, put them all on a digital platform. So we're working with a lot of corporates to move them into the digital platform. And this has just given us tailwind. This has just given us impetus for adoption of the digital economy, of the digital platform, to address the changing consumer behavior, to address the changing demand from the startups. So yeah, so I think this is a lot of change.
And basically, if we take a look at, I want to try to run through a bit of a mechanic while we are still here. Also, thank you everyone for watching. Jeffrey Payne from Golden Gate. Hi, thanks for watching all the way from Singapore. Good to have you here.
Hi, Jeff.
Yeah, good to see you. So looking at the amount of people that you have, the amount of participating investors, that is definitely a lot. Like how many investors are we talking about at this point in time?
So I think the KK Fund initiative that we worked out, and it was open and it's closing on April 17th. We've got almost 80 investors lined up. That's part of a consortium that's working behind KK Fund.
And Golden Gate is here, so Jeffrey, thank you very much also for being part of it. And also, I think there's someone from 500 who's.
I want to give a shout out to all these investors. I want to give a shout out to KK Fund. I want to give a shout out to all these investors. I want to give a shout out to our marketing partner Beam for making this happen so quickly. It was within days that we brought it up. I want to give a shout out to my team, the funding team in MDEC, who worked tirelessly to get this moving and get this set up.
Yeah, how fast is it to actually get it done? Like, was it like, I know it was within.
You see, this is the irony, right? So if it was non-COVID, we probably would have taken a month, go for meetings, talk, and DDD and all that. But now it's online. We did it. I think we did it in three days,
including a site and
it was fast. It was fast because everyone, you included. I think we're working harder, working from home. We're working harder because we can't get out, and it's online. People have lost the privacy of the working hours over the weekend, and things just keep moving.
I think we did a survey. Over like a non-scientific survey with our group. I think we have about close to 300 over respondents in there. Are you working harder or less during COVID-19? 80 over %. I think about 83% are working harder.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah,
sure.
Life
will never be the same. I don't think life will ever be the same after this post-COVID.
Yeah, definitely. It's gonna, as the common thing that everyone's been talking about is the new normal, and we just don't know what is the new normal. But at least there are a few trends that we know will probably going to stay. Working from home is definitely going to be a thing, and also that you already could measure your own productivity level. Everyone is hustling like crazy, so. No better time. I'm seeing so many of the entrepreneurs in the group that are actually doing amazing work. So really shout out to you guys, and jumping on Gopi's sentiment on agreeing with the investors. Thank you very much for actually supporting this initiative. So finally, we just want to get your to share with our audience, how can a startup be participating in all of the things, and how do they find out, and how do they join?
Okay, I'll urge all the startups. It's very difficult for MDEC to touch all the startups. So I'll urge all the startups to go into our website, www.mdec.my, and navigate through the website. We have a lot of initiatives there. We have got funding initiatives, we've got e-commerce initiatives, we've got ecosystem initiatives, we've got education initiatives, we've got initiative for COVID-19 specifically. Tech companies coming up to us to say, this is how I can help government, this is how I can help the SME industry. So we've got adoption initiatives, to help the SME. Tons and tons of work that we're doing. And so it's very difficult to articulate it all on a webinar like this, but I would strongly urge to go to www.mdec.my and look at some of these initiatives. If you're a startup, and you would definitely benefit from some of these initiatives.
Yeah, there's another question from Carl Wing. Before we like to see, will we see early startup friendly investment contract, safe, simple agreement being supported by the government?
I don't see why not. I think I will never say no. I'm an entrepreneur in blood. But I will also a finance guy in blood. I will say why not? If it is safe, if it is secure, if it makes sense, if it blends with the current model, current ecosystem that we're trying to build, I will not say no to anything. Let's explore.
For those who want to go directly to actually sign up for Meet Your Match, the link is already being shared by Nigel on our comment, but I'll put it up over there. And any final advice for startups or investors during this whole period? Because these are very trying times, and everyone is pivoting, everyone is doing new things. There's going to be new business. There's definitely going to be a lot of failures, but I know entrepreneurs will bounce back. Like, what will be your advice for them?
My advice is, tensions are running high. Models are pivoting. Consumer behavior is changing. I would say, I would tell startups not to be stubborn. Start collaborating. Start talking to mentors. Start looking at partnerships. Start looking at where you are leading and where your gaps are, and see if you can cover it with other startups. I predict some startups will merge. I would predict some startups will fail. I predict some startups will fly through the roof. So where are you? So you need to have that fighting spirit. Don't give up, because we're not alone in this. The whole world is going through it, and that's a comforting feeling. The whole world is going through it. That's also a challenge, because there's only limited resources riding out there. So think out of the box. Don't give up. Work strong. Work hard. Stay strong.
And
the new norm has changed, huh? Sorry.
Yeah. No. Just like to say thank you very much, Gopi. Thank you for sharing. I know MDEC is doing so many things besides this. This is just a small nugget in what we are sharing. We hope to actually get more details in terms of what are the other initiatives from MDEC from you guys really soon. And also just like to echo the sentiment from Nim again. Thanks for sharing great nuggets of information for startups at the Co. So thank you very much. Feel free to share this video. Feel free to like. We will be having more of this session soon. And thank you very much, Gopi, and your team for doing all this wonderful work.
Sure. I just want to say, Daniel, before you log me off, I just want to take this opportunity to say, Daniel, you yourself, thank you so much for taking all this effort. You've been working tirelessly, and you're connecting the ecosystems. You've been talking to startups. You've been talking to personalities in the startup. And that's quite amazing. And thank you so much. And I speak on behalf of the industry as well. Thank you for all that effort that you're putting in place.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And we're doing everyone doing our part. So it's kita jaga kita. So we have to look out for our ecosystem.
Yeah. Let's build together.
Let's build together, man. All right. Thank you. See you, Gopi.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye, guys.